Live. Well, hello, my dear creatives. Today we have such a fantastic speaker with us today. It's my favorite and dear Liz Stil. Welcome, Liz. Liz, for those of you who don't know her, Liz is a fantastic urban sketcher. She describes herself on her Instagram at least as non-stop sketcher or obsessive sketcher. So Liz is all about like inspiration, watercolor, sketching on location, urban sketching, like traveling around the globe. Yeah, like not now, obviously, but like in general. And originally Liz is from Australia, and I believe this wonderful opera sketch well indicates where she's from. She's from Sydney. So welcome, Liz. We're so happy to have you here today. And yes, my first question, even though I did like a quick introduction, I'm wondering, like, how would you describe who is Liz Stil? Like, what's the story behind you?
Well, first of all, hi, Olga. It's just lovely to catch up and to talk together. And it's been a long time.
Yes.
So I feel so honoured to have this chance to talk to you. So first question, how do I describe Liz Stil? So a number of years ago, I found a description online of myself, which I thought was kind of funny, which is Liz Stil is a urban sketcher. She's an architect. When she's not traveling the world, she spends all her time in tea rooms. And I went, oh, hold on a minute. There's more to my life than just traveling and tea. But I'm an architect by training, and I always did a lot of hand-drawn drawings as part of architect, even though we live in a digital age. And then I discovered watercolor. This is like before I went online, and I thought this is what I've been looking for all my life, and just started sketching my life. And then of course I discovered Flickr, which is like before Facebook and Instagram, and became very much involved in some early online groups. Was there when Urban Sketches first started, and became a correspondent very early on. And then in 2013, 2012, end of 2012, I actually left my architecture job to have a bit of a break and to do some teaching, because a lot of the urban sketchers encouraged me to actually start teaching. And so, yeah, I left my architecture career and I didn't decide to do it permanently at the time, but it just happened. And now basically I see myself more as a teacher than an artist as such, because I don't sell my work, but my kind of commitment is to sketch my life and then share the adventure. So I share the adventures. I'm always trying to document everything I do. I don't really care about creating masterpieces. I'm more interested in capturing the moment, recording what I see, and creating a narrative of my life. So it's really that story, putting things in a sketchbook, and having a lot of fun. Like I don't take it too seriously. Like I have a long-term goal of excellence and wanting to always get better, but here now in the moment, I'm just about having fun, learning from it. But yes, obsessive sketcher, people, that's the way I describe myself, and people describe me.
Even your hashtag on Instagram is like a creator of sketching now courses. I really love this now in the description, because for me at least it indicates the presence, like, because at least for me, when I do sketch on locations, I feel that I'm so present, because by nature, by personality, I tend to be a little bit anxious. And for me, sketching on location or like sketching for projects, it's kind of a meditation for me, because it puts me in the moment. And even now when I'm recalling like my travel to Paris or to Europe, to Russia, when I go through my sketchbooks, I can remember like every moment, like what I did. Probably this is one of the best things that your students get from like your teaching and from your courses, right? This is so interesting. And it looks like it happens quite naturally, this transition. By the way, it's going to be 10th anniversary. So if it started in 2012, next year, it's going to be 10 years that we have Liz Stil like shining in the world in teaching architectural urban sketching. This is so wonderful. Yeah, and yeah, by the way, welcome back to teaching. I know that you're just back from your short vacation. You've been in Australian bush and sketching nature. Yeah, I've seen these beautiful grayish green trees on your Instagram. And one thing I noticed is that you're talking about two sketchbook strategy. Could you please share like what's the secret, the idea behind this interesting strategy? Because I've never seen that before on Instagram, so it's really interesting. What's the secret behind it? Yeah.
Okay, so so much to catch up, but yes, what you're saying about sketching now and about being in present, I think is one of the really important things, and that idea of the experience of the sketch is so important, rather than being stressed about the end result. And if you can kind of go, right, I'm here in the moment, I'm enjoying the process, then that's like a real secret to enjoying it. And yes, I used to travel the world and spend 4 months overseas in every, like 3 to 4 months traveling a year. And of course now we're kind of unable in Australia. We're unable to
and in New
travel.
Zealand as well, yeah.
There's a ban on international travel. And like earlier in the year, I had a wonderful 6-week road trip exploring my state. But here in Sydney at the moment, we're locked down, and so instead of having my state to explore, I don't even have all of my city. I have just my local government area and a 5K radius where I can go out for exercise and outdoor recreation. So I recently had 2 weeks holiday vacation, which I had planned to travel up the coast for. So I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my local area and strategize, go to different parts. I initially went to the northernmost part, the eastern, western, southernmost part. And because like, you know, our restrictions, like there's like a certain degree of grayness, like what can I do? What can't I do? I decided that, well, first of all, I decided I wanted to use a different sketchbook to make it feel like a holiday. So I had this massive sketchbook. So this is actually...
This is holiday sketchbook.
Yeah, this is A4 long way. So it's like a short A3. So it's the biggest sketchbook I've ever used. And I thought, well, I can't technically just go and sit on the street and sketch at the moment because we're in lockdown. So I thought, well, what I might do is have a strategy of having 2 sketchbooks. So having one smaller one that's that I can use, that I can just stand while I'm walking, pause quickly, do a couple of quick sketches, and then maybe translate that when I get home, sketch from photos using this as a reference. Or if I'm in the middle of the bush and there's no one around, then I use my big book. So that was the idea, is basically born out of the restrictions that we currently have. And this little book is, it's actually a Greenwood book. It's got a beautiful cover. It's an Australian company from Melbourne, and it's not really watercolor paper, but what I found was amazing. So these are like what I did just quickly. Oh, I'm hopeless at this. Okay. Quickly standing up. They're really, really quick sketches. I don't care about whether they work or not. And it's just that liberation, that freedom of using colored pencil, something different. I don't know what's going on. Just really, really quick sketches.
This looks fantastic. Even like this, like supermarket, right? So you sketch and you record, document like such a like routine things that like you can see from a different angle at this activity, right? So even going to grocery shopping becomes kind of adventure now these days.
Yeah, and so now I've actually got this. I'm actually keeping it, and so like normally if I go for a walk, I don't want to bring all my gear with me. So now I go, right, okay, this is my walking book. So this is a separate book, and it's just a collection of ideas. If I see a scene that I like, just really quickly, less than a minute maybe, quickly capture the essence, chuck a bit of pencil on, and then go for it. And kind of separating the kind of capture of ideas with the production of art. So in a way, it's going back to the architectural design sketching, which is the basis, as opposed to what I was doing with the, let's see if I can find something. Water, I'm gonna sit. Yeah, okay, so this then is, this is then my typical.
Yeah. Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, such a fine-tuned drawing. They complement each other so beautifully, right? And one thing I noticed on this smaller one, that you have kind of, is it like a branded Still sketchbooks that we can like order online, or because I've noticed it's like an imprint or something. Yeah.
On my name, yes, I think they do that. You've asked me a question. I'm not. Yeah, so yeah, I think they offer that as a service. Yeah, so it's been really liberating to have this book that doesn't need to be pretty, that I don't need to share. Like, I love the bigger book. I love composing my pages and writing the narrative. And once I got over this mental barrier of having two books, so for me, normally it's all about the story of my life. So I don't like splitting my work over two books. But now that I've accepted, this is just my walking book. And if I want to go back and relive my trip, I'm going to be looking at two books at the one time. My trip. Do you like the way I think my trip? I just stayed home. But I mean, that's how I thought in my mind. And that kind of, that real, I think for sketching, one of the biggest barriers is actually starting. And this, then I've got a small bag, I've got a small book. When I'm walking, I've got lightweight. I just pull it out. I don't care. Do a sketch, turn the page. It's almost like a warm up. And then I'm like, what I'm doing with my walks is I'm parking my car in a different spot each day. So then after I've done my walk, I come back to my car and then I do a proper sketch sitting in my car or nearby. So yeah, I think sketching is all, like, to have a really strong sketching practice is all about having strategies in place for doing it, because it's just too easy for everything else in your life to take over. And unless you can work out a way that you can actually fit it into your daily routine, it just won't happen. So that's kind of my, non-stop sketcher. It's like, I feel like I don't spend time on my art. I just fit it into my life.
You just live your life, and creating at the same time. I think this is such a life hack for lots of people who will be watching this video, because very often people I meet these questions I have such a huge fear of blank piece of paper staring at me from a sketchbook that I even can't start. And simple life hack, grab a small sketchbook or tiny sketchbook, go on location, set a timer even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and feel free. This idea goes from probably the book that almost everybody read, is Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way. She talks exactly about that, right? How to begin without expectations to create a masterpiece from scratch. Nobody expects that. It's all about expressing your creativity. And I really love this process that you start with a warm-up. You see it is a warm-up, and it reminds me of French impressionists. They also used to go on location, create incredibly sketchy, drafty piece of art. And sometimes they do fine-tune it, sometimes they send it straight through to the exhibition on the impressionists. And I really love this idea, because you catch this life, these moments, at least for those who have background in architecture, because I also have interior architecture background, and we used to spend so much time on these academic style drawings where you can like draw Greek heads of like heroes or Roman emperors for ages. Like you could draw it like for hours straight, and then you find out like that it was so hard. And in this little thumbnail sketch, which took you like 5 minutes to create, you could express so much more of your personality, of your ideas. I really love it. Yeah. And I know why these people were describing you as like Liz was spending your life in cafes, local cafes with these teacups, because it looks like it's your brand now. It's part of your like trademark teacup.
Yes, well, at the moment, because of lockdown, one of my projects is to sketch a teacup, because I have like an extensive collection. Like I have over 50 fancy teacups. So that was one of the things. It's just like, I don't know what day we're on. I've kind of lost count, but like, yeah, basically doing a teacup sketch for each day was just a way of saying, okay, we're in this repetition of like every day being the same. So let's have a fancy cup to make a celebration of each day being different. But of course, that's actually quite a lot of hard work, because my teacups I've got to like, go through, find which one. So towards the end, recently I've just been going, I don't care about changing it every day. It's too much work. I'm fine to have the same cup for a couple of days. Yeah, that I think that idea of you said so many things there, but the idea of that the essence of the moment. So like when I was working as an architect, often my boss would get one of my scribbly sketches that I did while I was thinking that was done on butter paper sitting on my desk. He'd get it and he'd blow it up to like A1 size. And he'd use the earlier sketch, even though I used to think, oh, it's so kind of wonky and it's not perfect, because it had so much more energy to it than the kind of presentation one that I used to do. And so for me, there is that discovery. Like we were in this interesting space where the sketch has been elevated to be an art form in itself, and social media, particularly Instagram, kind of favors the beautiful, the eye-catching thumbnail. So it becomes, it's like that space of being able to do quick sketches, being able to work in a small book. They're not the things that we see on our feed enough, I don't think, anymore. I think in the earlier days we used to see more of it. And also when you're sketching out on location, it's quite a shock to be around people. So if you actually have a small book and you actually feel comfortable to just sketch standing up, is a really good way to get used to being around people, being like, get over that fear. Because the first couple of times your hand will be shaking.
Yeah, so
like,
what if somebody comes and asks a question? It's like,
I mean, the funny thing is that what you're most scared of when you first start, which is someone talking to you, is actually the best part about it.
Yes.
And if I was, I mean, obviously not now at the moment, but like, when things are open, and I go out sketching all day, if I don't have 3 beautiful conversations, random conversations to people, I think, what's wrong with me today?
What's happening?
Exactly. It wasn't a proper day if I don't get into, some kind of nice I mean, that's the best thing. And I think a lot of people are afraid, what if someone's what if someone's criticizes what's on the page? You just say, hey, I'm learning. Just say I'm learning, and then everyone will go, oh, that's so inspiring. And they always have, I have an aunt that painted. It's always the aunt that paints. They start talking about, they don't really care so much, but just say, hey, I'm learning. If you're trying to draw people and it's like, you're not happy with this, I'm learning. And then people just like think that's fantastic. I don't know.
Yeah, this is also one of the most common fears, right? Like, what if somebody will come and criticize my work? Like, what if somebody will come and say like I don't like it? First of all, it like the person who says that is like a mean type of person who would come and say to creative things like that, because like as creatives we used to be very fragile and quite sensitive to criticizing, and it's really important for us to create this like thick skin to be like unstoppable and like whatever. And I find that this answer is like a perfect answer. Like I'm learning and like not taking it to your heart. Like this is one of the opinions in the sea of opinions of other people. Like for you, it's really important to learn something new. Yeah, and going back to this quick sketch, I also found that very often, in architectural firms, they grab this scratchy, quickie sketch, and they actually put it in the like big presentation for their like customers or investors. And the funniest thing is when they have feedback from investors says like this quick sketch actually sold us the project because it has like soul in it. It has this energy that you, Liz, were talking about. This is incredible, right? How like 1 minute thing can like sell a project or inspire people or like change things or like shift or pivot for some people. That's I find this is like a magic of quick sketching and sketching on locations and connecting with people. I can imagine when you used to travel, how many amazing connections and maybe even friends you created during this urban sketching tours, during your own Palladian Odyssey tours, right? All these European. This is so beautiful. This is a life hack, like go sketch on location if you want to get like new connection, new friends.
Yes, totally.
And I believe this, if you like, you say that you document your life in these sketchbooks. I can imagine how many sketchbooks you have up until now. And the question is, how do you like index them? Because I remember our first interview, you had such a beautiful background, like filled with the rows of your sketchbooks. I'm wondering that during these 2 years that we hadn't talked live, I imagine that this wall of sketchbooks is like spread probably. How do you index them? Because for me, at least, it's such a challenge because for now I just store them in big white boxes and I can't visually see them. And if I need to find something, I need to like go through all these boxes to find one particular sketch. Like, what's your life hack on that?
Right. Well, for starters, I pick up a book that's got some. Yeah, I stack my books so that they're this like the paper is the visible one. So I actually stack them like into the shelf, which so it's the most efficient use. And then I put a number and a date start of it. Now, because I've basically scanned nearly every sketch I've ever done, not quite, there's a period of about 18 months maybe when I wasn't, because I've been blogging the whole journey. Then I can easily find, I just go to my blog and search, or I just search Google Liz Stil yellow teacup, for example, right? And it will come through on my blog and it'll come through with a heap of different, different sketches. And I can tell from the date. I used to put the date on the file name. And then it's like, okay, so I've got the date now, let's find the sketchbook. And what I've actually started to do, this is still a work in progress, is this is my index book. So my index book actually has red on the edge.
Yeah.
So it's easy to find. And the idea of this, and so I haven't finished it, is to write, it's got the sketchbook number, the date it started, and also what sketchbook it is, because sometimes I can't necessarily stack them in order because it might be a small sketchbook. And then my idea is to go on this side of the page and write 1 or 2 signature pages that's contained in the sketch, because as I go back over the years, a lot of my early sketchbooks, there might be 1 or 2 spreads that were really successful that I use as examples in my teaching. But now I created a new course end of last year. I actually went on basically on sketchbook design. I went through all of my sketchbooks and I had to try and find them, and it was it's quite a process to do it. So now when I scan, I put the sketchbook number in the file name, and it's so much easier to find. So I've just got to find the number. I don't have to worry about the date. So
this is fantastic.
So basically it's easy to find because of my obsessive blogging over the years that I continue to do. Not social media. Social media is secondary to me. It's all about the blog where I'm sharing all my work and the kind of progress and the narrative of my life. Once again, that idea of storytelling. So yeah, it is a problem. And I don't know. I'm just looking at the shelf. I'm nearly full of it. The shelf is nearly completely full. I don't know what I'm going to do now.
How's this soon?
Exactly. So I mean, I'm at 149 of my everyday sketchbooks. And then I have about 111 travel sketchbooks, which are a different numbering system. And then I've got a heap of maybe 20 random or something. So I've got like 270 sketchbooks or something like that. And they grow at about 20 a year approximately.
20 a year. Wow, because that was my next question, like how quickly and how much it grows like in a year. And by the way, I really love the graphic look of these walls of sketchbooks, because they create this beautiful white blackish background, and it is so beautiful. It is.
And it doesn't matter what the sketchbook is. What the cover is. Like in the early days, the books I was using weren't very robust. So I actually wrapped them in different colored paper. But when you stack them that way, they all look uniform, even though there's a lot of different types of sketchbooks there. There's just, as you say, it's the black and white, and it just, it's
I remember
it's very cool.
I really love to store my books on the bookshelves this way, because I love this pure whitish look. When I was an architecture student, I really loved all white. I used to do this paper modeling, all in white, but different textures of white for the bridge modeling or house modeling. And then I realized it's really hard to find the book because you need to
the thickness.
Yes, or the thickness, or the texture look. So I is very trained to different shades of whitish paper. Oh, this is so cool. Yeah. By the way, talking about your courses, so you thanks to this fact that you sketch the narrative of your life, and this is such a privilege to go on Google and just put in Liz Stil yellow teacup or red teacup, and Google gives you a whole lots of search results for that. This is incredible. So probably this is one of the reasons why you decided to create this new course on sketchbook design. And I know that recently you finished another online course on buildings as well. Could you please tell us more about it, and especially for those of people who will be watching and wondering from where to start, which course is the very, very complete beginner level, so we can have this kind of index and system in mind where to start.
Right. Okay. So my latest course is actually a sketchbook design one. So I've been creating in-depth 3-month long online courses since 2014. So now I have 6 of them, and I periodically go through and do what I call a group run through, which is to go through the course with people, and then to supplement all of the pre-recorded stuff with then weekly live streams to review work and to give newer answer questions and all the rest. So that's what the buildings course was actually filmed in 2016, and even some lessons in Italy.
Oh, wow.
I got a friend from Edinburgh to come down and help me film. And Palladio, there's a couple of Palladian buildings as well. So we're talking about Palladian Odyssey. So I have a number of things, and the buildings one's coming up in a few weeks' time at the time of which we're talking about this. So, but I basically have built my courses so that they really build on each other. And the very first one that I did is Foundations, which is really after a couple of years of teaching, I realized there's a lot of people out there who are sketching all the time, but when something goes wrong, they have no idea why. And it's because they haven't been really solidly grounded in the fundamentals of how to see and how to measure and how to flatten when they're out on location, a complex scene into like 2-dimension and know where the important edges are. So I created that course, Foundations, and then a couple of years later, I did a watercolor course. So they're my 2 beginner courses, and I've actually bundled them together with the sketchbook design course in a bundle called Sketch Your Life, which is really for people to really build as kind of foundational skills. And the idea behind the sketchbook design is like, I have this theory that even if you're unsuccessful with your sketch, if you can just spend a little bit of time designing the page, putting a border around, thinking about where you're going to put some text on the page, that you can actually create a pleasing spread and be happy about it, even though you weren't happy about the sketch. And it's one of the things, I just ignore my doorbell at the moment. It's one of the things that I think is really important to kind of have some strategies to be happy with your work and to accept your your progress and your narrative. And then I have a second tier of courses which then build on those foundations and go forward from then. So we have Edges, which is all about getting the most out of ink and wash sketches, creating better depth and focus, and how to decide what to do in ink, what to do in watercolor. We have the Buildings course, which is very, very specific strategies that I've developed over the years from my architectural background and my love of sketching buildings quickly. We have some perspective in it, but it's kind of a very loose approach to buildings and a way of seeing buildings in a different way, so it makes them easier to sketch. And then I have a 6th course, which is called Watercolor on Location, which is all taking all of the concepts from all the previous courses and doing more advanced composition, more use of watercolor, and so that's a really fantastic course as well. So that's my 6 courses at the moment, and how they all build on each other and how they're kind of they're bundled. So that's the second 3 is bundled together as an urban sketching course. So that's the emphasis really on using these skills out on location. So yeah, there's a
So probably for complete beginners, it will be reasonable just to enroll in a bundle where there are like foundations, watercolor, and sketchbook
and the sketchbook design, and then they're the ones that I go through like, you know, so once a year I'll go through those courses, which is the best time to go to actually sign up. And it's like a long-term commitment. I think people think, oh, I'm going to start sketching and I'm going to be a master, really, like, you know, like that. No, like actually developing sketching takes time, and I think the more you accept that and go, right, okay, I'm going to devote a year to really working on my sketching, really building a solid foundation, and working systematically, because I think that's the thing now. There's so much content on the internet, but it's all over the place, and you jump from one thing to another. You copy someone else's work. But I try to teach concepts and try to really encourage people to develop their own style. Not so much, I don't want people to copy me, because I break all the rules. I teach you what you should do, and then I do something completely different.
This is our rebellious.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, yeah, you know, it's like let's just buy a program that's actually gonna like be with us for a long time. And a lot of my students come back and redo the courses. They're designed to redo them, so they come back whenever there's a group run through. They come back, and there's a whole group of them that know each other from previous courses, and so it's a whole community as well. You can tell I love it. It's really been the greatest honor.
Passion. Yeah, it's your passion, and I really love that there are like levels for people, like for beginners, then they progress with like more advanced, like level 1, level 2, level 3, and they grow, and the sky is the limit. The funniest thing is literally like 2 weeks ago, I got an email from a guy, and he's writing like, Olga, I've been reading your emails and I've been watching like your YouTube videos, and I watched all the YouTube videos on perspective topic, and I still do not understand how to like draw these like and these in perspective. And I'm like, this is the system. This looks like a disease of our age, especially for youngsters, for people under like 30 and 20, who want like everything quickly. I want a new skill in 10 minutes or in an hour maximum. They watch all the videos, like heaps, like they spend hours of their time on like videos on YouTube from different topics, and they don't have this structure in their head. And at the same time, they don't understand that it's better to invest in a particular course, in a particular teacher who will come and like give this system and one by one teach them the basics, that they will not struggle and spend like years of their life watching free content on YouTube when they could spend like a couple of hundreds of dollars and have this system in place and start building their skill. Because indeed it takes time to develop a skill, like at least at a proper level. So this is like a very important note.
And you have to do the exercises too. This is the thing. People think that, just by watching things, I'll get it. It's like, no, you actually have to do the exercises. And you know, that's one of the things in my courses too, is that exercises are very, very specific to what I'm teaching, that concept. And then progressively, initially, because we want to keep building on it, so we just want you to focus on this skill, then this skill, and do the work. You know, it doesn't, and you've got to keep going back to, I think also you've got to keep going back to basics. So I always find that, I mean, even like last week when I've been sketching trees, and it's not something that I'm like I sketch a lot of, I went back to basics again, and I'm back to my 3 core principles, because that's the way I then develop my work, is to go back through foundational ideas, think about them in new ways, different ways, combine them in different ways, and then move forward as well. So yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, it's important to like put in your time and practice. Like daily sketching is the best thing ever. Yeah. By the way, Liz, I guess you do sketch daily, right? Or like at least like every other day, probably.
I sketch 6 days a week. So Sunday's my day of rest. So as a Christian, I have a day off. But apart from that, yes. So I document like nearly every day. Okay, there's been a couple of periods in my life when I haven't. But even then, if I could just like sketch my morning coffee, it's like breathing in a way for me. It's just to do a quick sketch. But yeah, so most weeks, six days.
Yeah, but probably during your traveling time and during your urban sketching tours, you sketch so much more on locations. By the way, let's talk Palladio, probably one of our favorite topics. Yeah, because you used to have this Palladian journey, Palladian Odyssey. I really do hope that very soon, maybe in a year, you will recreate it when the borders in New Zealand and Australia will be open. And for those of our creatives who are watching this, probably the first question is like, why Palladio? If it is maybe because Palladio, and in particular, probably Palladian villas, right? Because Palladio, he's known not only for villas, but also like churches, right? And palaces, but he was most famous for villas. And yeah, I'm wondering like, why Palladio? Why you decided on that particular like Renaissance architect?
Okay, so I've actually been obsessive about Palladio for years, since university. So he's like a modern architect in the 1920s. He designed these very innovative white boxes villas, and I found this essay by Colin Rowe that it's called the mathematics of an ideal villa, and he compares Le Corbusier's villas with Palladio. So that was like the first time I kind of really, and I got really excited about this idea that that, you know, that particularly that modern architecture, the big names are so steeped, and like Le Corbusier in particular, so steeped in the work of earlier history. Because yeah, I think at a university we're just modern, just contemporary, don't worry about history of architecture so much. So I was really fascinated about learning from history and learning from principles. So I've been obsessed with Palladio for years, like seriously years. If you go to lizstil.com/Palladio, you'll see how I've been sketching
There are so
Palladio.
many blog articles on that topic.
And I just happen to have, this is from 2001.
That's fantastic.
So 20 years ago, I started going through books and sketching, and this is before I sketched on location. I used to sketch from photos or sketch after my trips. So for me, the idea, like Palladio, so he's like, you know, his villas in the 1550s kind of era are so innovative because he's one of the, I suppose he's the first person to apply the kind of classical temple front to domestic buildings, but not only domestic buildings, but they're rural farms. So they're not grand palaces. They're actually very functional working farms. So it's this beautiful, you know, combination of very precise classical details with great functionality, which is like, you know, very important. And then also this amazing proportion. So he's got all of this mathematical proportion of different sizes of rooms and the way they connect with each other, and hierarchy of the whole and the part. So there's actually so much about him. And also he was a great drawer. So one of the reasons why he's the main reason why he's so famous, he's the most influential architect in the Western architecture, English architecture and America particularly. Very, very influenced by his work, lots of copies. And that's because he wrote a book, and the four books, right?
Yeah.
I actually have a second copy that lives in Italy, where he kind of, you know, he drew and wrote about his villas. Like, this page is very special to me because I read it on location when I was at the villa. And it's kind of like, it's in the same way as I blog, you know, you actually, you know, you do well, even as an architect, you design something, you do a drawing, and then you write about it to the client. So it's that kind of process. And then because of this book, very influential. And yeah, it's just like a dream come true to be able to teach sketching and travel sketching in the Veneto region of Italy, which is just inland from Venice, with Mike Botton, who's a local sketcher here, who used to run a furniture business. So he knows that area from Milan furniture fairs and all the rest. And I think Palladio is so good to learn architecture sketching because he has these big, simple volumes, which are great for learning the basics. Because that's what I say, you know, you've got to see the volume first. You've got to see the volume, how it sits in space, the perspective, and then also beautiful proportions, the way things relate to each other, and classical, really very crisp classical details. And so he's just like the most ideal architect. Like the villas are just, and also beautiful setting, and you know, you've got all the food and the wine and all the rest to do with Italy, but in this beautiful setting with really fascinating history. So we have a local historian who comes on the tour with us. And it's like so interesting because it's like it's the Venetian families going inland after they lost some of their trade with the opening up of the New World. So it's like there's like everyone who's been to Venice come on the tour and go, wow, this has got so much connection to it's like the other half of the Venice story that no one knows about. And so it's this beautiful kind of combination of, you know, great for architecture, great location, fascinating history, all together in one, and really able to kind of build over it, you know, a period of the 6 days, really build skills in a way that is a lot harder to do in just like a normal 2-day workshop, as we go from one villa to another. So I could keep talking, but once you get me going on Palladio, I mean my necklace is Palladian.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
So that's from the
Palladian window, right? This Palladian window.
Yes, from the Basilica in Vicenza. So in Vicenza is just a beautiful city with that's got his the Basilica and some of the other palaces. But yeah, and he's just such a it's just so rich. The more like I read the 4 books from time to time, just pull it out and read it. And I've met some of the villa owners. I've kind of like met yes, it's just been a wonderful kind of combination of what my interest as an architect and as a sketcher all kind of combined together. I can't wait to get back.
Yes, Liz, just listening to you creates this puzzle in me, like to go to Italy immediately to visit like Vicenza, Veneto, Venice, and to like immerse myself into this like beauty of architecture, of culture, and food as well. I remember it was also, at least for us at the Russian art academies, 4 books of architecture by Andrea Palladio. It was like a must read.
Wow.
I really hope that like for those of our viewers who have like architecture background or maybe are currently like architecture students and they haven't read these books yet, we highly encourage you to do that, because you will get so much inspiration from just looking at this beautiful layouts with this golden section and with like these beautiful perfect proportions. And I believe probably one of the reasons why Andrea Palladio became like the most famous architect in the Western world is because he was such a theoretic. He was not only practicing, but he has such a theory on architecture, and like this probably gives so much power to him and to his art that we are able to learn again from him. Even like even now I feel inspired to go back to these books and go through them, because it's like endless stream of knowledge, inspiration, beautiful proportions. And especially these days, this time when we are locked, right, or we can go and visit like for example Italy now, but we can go to our bookshelf and grab a book like by Andrea Palladio, and we can, in our imagination, we can go to Italy and to have these beautiful moments in life of like inspiration and creative buzz after that. Yeah, Liz, I really do hope that very soon everything will be back to place again, and we will meet in Europe and in Australia or in New Zealand. This is fantastic.
Yes, yeah, I know. It's the as you say, it's the fact that he documented his thoughts and his work, and he was so prolific as well. But also, I was reading on location, like he was describing how to build something.
Yeah.
And then I realized that actually helped me sketch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like talking about the proportions of a column, and then I go, oh, that's helping me sketch as well. So there's just so many different layers in which we can pick up ideas from the past that I think we just want often we just want the latest, but it's that I just love building on history and finding new ways to combine it with what I do now.
Yeah, probably because like when you better understand the plot, right, the history, you can better express it in your drawing. That's why for people who just start with architecture sketching and they ask me like where to start, I say like start with a layout, because when you see a layout, you understand how the building functions, like what's like its design features, like if it's symmetrical or not, and it really do help to create a sketch on that topic, not just copying blankly. I remember, thanks to you, Liz, I created my first live event in Australia. It was in Adelaide 2 years ago. Thank you so much for sharing this event with your community, because I met wonderful people. There were probably 10 or 12 of us, and we were sketching this beautiful glass palace, glass building in Botanical Garden of Adelaide. And I did start it with the layout of it, and then we progressed to like 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective. This is so interesting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the kind of understanding of the building, like as you say, the plan, the layout, like when I'm not just sketching what I see, I'm sketching what I understand the building to be, and then translating it back. And so if you just learn, all you have to do is sketch what you see. It's more than that. The more you can understand, the more it helps you see to be able to sketch it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I feel like I can talk endlessly, but I look at my list of questions that I've prepared, and I do realize that we need another live stream together.
Anytime, you know I'm up for it.
Yeah, so probably like the last question for today will be, because I just realized that we've been talking almost an hour already. I'm like, oh, how can I find...
We're only in the first couple
we
questions.
Just started, but talking about Palladio could take like hours of time. So my dear creatives who will be watching us and don't judge us, we hope that we will have an opportunity for a second live stream. So Liz, to close up today's beautiful live stream, what advice would you give to complete beginners in like urban sketching and watercolor, people who have this passion, and especially people who used to have this passion as they were like teenagers, and they have this creative buzz in them, but they feel like they have another education, maybe in finance or economy, and they do feel that they want to go back, but they have this incredible fear of studying. What would you say to these people?
A lot of things that I could say, but I think my kind of number one thing, and it's going to be two, is like keep it simple and enjoy the process. So I see a lot of beginners when I teach, if I give them a free exercise, say go and find whatever you want to sketch, they find the most complicated scene, a scene that I would be hesitant to do, and they get going way too deep and like they panic and get very discouraged. So I think keeping it simple and really building those basic skills. So instead of like drawing we're talking about architecture a lot, instead of drawing a whole building in perspective, learn how to draw a window really well. And
Palladian window in particular.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, actually windows are one of the hardest parts of drawing buildings anyway, but so like really build those basic skills to really understand what you're doing in terms of how you're seeing the world in terms of edges, shapes and volumes, and then to learn some measuring and just to take your time. Even I know we've been talking about quick sketching, right? It's just really important, but the quickness and the looseness comes with time. It's more important just to just do something small. Don't try to, I have this famous quote, we share but we don't compare. Don't, just take it slowly and do things that you're comfortable with, something that comes from the heart, but keep it simple. Don't be too ambitious, just so that you become obsessive, you get the bug. Because if you think, see all this work on Instagram and you go, I want to do that looks fine, that looks easy, or whatever, I'll just do it, you get discouraged, then you stop the process of that regular sketching. And the idea is to just build your skills, keep doing it and kind of having fun. Just if you're not enjoying it, just pare it back, keep it more simple, and don't get distracted by materials. There you go. I was just giving you about 10 tips.
A blog post, a blog article, 10 things.
10 things. But yeah, but really just, keep it simple, and build on the foundations. So just, and take your time. It's like, it's, I think that's one of the things I love about the sketchbook is like, not only am I like creating sketches, but I'm creating a narrative of my life. So in some sense, the actual document of my life is more important than the quality of the sketches. The fact that in that shelf, I have my life from the last 10, 12, 12 years or something, 13, 14, I don't know, now, since when I started. And I can go back and the sketches might sometimes make me cringe, but the memories are important. And that just, be kind to yourself.
And stories of one's lives is like the most interesting story in the world, right? Why autobiographies or biographies of like people are so interesting to read? Because like this is the story of your life. And Liz, you have such a unique approach because your life, it is recorded not only in like little stories that you do incorporate into your sketchbooks, right? Some writings over there, but also, of course, sketches. And this is absolutely incredible, your story of your life, to go back, to share it with you, with the world, right? Not only with your like close family, like impressions from the trip, right? Instead of showing them like a bunch of hundreds and hundreds of photos on like on computer, it's so much more interesting to share a blog post or show them a couple of sketches, and they pick up these emotions and impressions from that trip, and they start to want to go there with you next time. Yeah.
Yes, but also I find the most interesting things when I look back at my sketchbooks are not the big events, the big travel things. And I think this is a really good message in the time of the days that we live, you know. It's actually the small little objects that I was using as part of everyday life, because they come and go, you know. You know, I'm not going to talk about teacup, but like a favorite mug, it's now broken, but you used to use it all the time.
Wow.
And if you've sketched it, it brings you back, you know, the just little, you know, my keys, you move home, you get a new car, you got different keys. So many little things in life, the little things that you almost take for granted. If you actually sketch them, they have this amazing richness in the memories that they bring, the little things that we forget. If you sketch them, just add this other layer. So yes, the travel's great, but we don't need to travel to create beautiful memories of our life.
Yeah, I really love the idea that you shared at the very beginning, that sometimes you do start your day with like a very loose, quick sketch of like a teacup or coffee cup. And I think that for a lot of people, it's like a life hack how to incorporate sketching into their life, because very often they're like, where I find time for sketching? And I'm like, where do you find it? Like under your bed covers? You create this time, like you set up, like you're drinking your coffee. Why don't you have like your sketchbooks? It can be like that small, like from like Moleskine or any brand, like A6, A5 format. It can go into your pocket and it's always with you. Even if you're on lockdown as we are and you're wearing your pajamas all day, it can be in your pajamas pocket, right?
And you can sketch your pajamas too, because those pajamas will make you remember lockdown.
Yeah, and later on you can go back and you can say, wow, this was such an unusual and amazing time that I could learn so much from. And Liz, I really love your idea of this, like sketching small daily things that sometimes we take for granted, right? And I believe that these small things, they do have like power in them, and they create these little memories which are becoming so precious as time flies, as time goes. And even like to sketch like a couple of fountain pens, like, right, or like pens, and this is so incredible to go back in time, like in years, and like immerse yourself into that particular period of your time, and you realize at that moment how much you've learned from it. So this is really beautiful. You don't need to sketch only if you like have a tour in France or in Italy. You can sketch even now. So you guys sketch your pajamas today, sketch your morning cup of coffee, and literally maybe your MacBook or notepad, or like any book that you have. By the way, Liz, when I buy new books on urban sketching, each time I can see your drawings in them. This is so interesting. Yeah. All right. So Liz, thank you so much for joining this interview. I got so much inspiration. I really do hope that all our viewers will get as inspired as I did. And yeah, had also so much fun and joy, yeah, to connect with you, to learn from you. So thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Olga. It's just been so wonderful. You know, I love catching up with you, and it's been a long time. I love talking about sketching and teaching and Palladio.
Palladio, yeah.
Exactly. To have someone who wants to ask me about Palladio makes my heart sing. So.
Yeah, it's so near and dear to like any probably architect's heart, right? And sketching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so thank you one more time, Liz, for sharing this early morning in Sydney with me, with us. I know it's very early in Australia, and I wish you a beautiful creative day ahead. And I really do hope to catch up with you either live or in real life. It would be fantastic. Yeah, on vacation. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you, Liz. Yes, bye. I'll be ending this beautiful live stream.